Today's episode of Ministry Matters That Matter is at Big Bear Lake in California. You can see the lake behind me. I hope you enjoy our time together. Mark chapter 6 and verse 30. The apostles gathered together with Jesus, and they reported to him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a secluded place and rest for a while, for there were many people coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat." They went away in the boat to a secluded place by themselves. What's the backstory of this? Is Jesus is in the heart of his ministry. The apostles or disciples are traveling with him. He sent them out earlier in this chapter in pairs into the various villages. So you're in the aftermath of them going on work trips, small mission trips. You're in the aftermath of the death of John the Immerser. They come back and report what has taken place, and Jesus encourages them to get away for a little while. I don't know what it's like in your ministry for Jesus, but in mine, I stay busy. I travel a lot. I think about in all those years of local work, a lot of times our vacations were work vacations where we tacked a vacation on to where I was going to speak somewhere. And sometimes you just get tired. In my current work at Heritage Christian, I spend a lot of time on the road. It's very common for me to wake up in the middle of the night and wonder what state, what city, and what country I'm in. My guess is that you have times when you feel the same way, where you're just exhausted. I welcome you today to another episode of Ministry Matters That Matter. I am in California. We stayed last night at Oak Knoll Lodge, which is probably about a half mile in that direction. My wife had watched a show on the Magnolia Network about Lindsay and her family buying this cabin complex and fixing up the lodge and the cabins. And so every year Cindy and I go to a president's conference. And at this particular conference, the presidents go and their spouses go. And it moves around the country, and it happens to be in California this time around. And so Cindy had watched that show on the Magnolia Network, and we decided to come a couple of days early before the conference starts so that we could see a little bit of California. Cindy had never been to California. I've been to California. I've been to Sacramento, Lake Tahoe, and to San Diego a couple of times. Each of those times, either one was for a wedding and the others were for conferences, but I had never been in the Los Angeles area. I had not been out here in the Big Bear Lake area. So we decided to go a couple of days ahead and spend some time together. And so we're in the second day of our couple of days away. So we drove about 2 hours east of Los Angeles to Oak Knoll Lodge in the area of Big Bear Lake, and we're just enjoying the scenery and the beauty. So I'm out here in the woods, not far from the shores of Big Bear Lake. What I wanted to really, say to each of us in ministry is that if we don't take some time to get away, to relax, to catch our breath, then we're probably going to shorten our time in ministry. And, I think about as I'm getting older, as I'm getting closer and closer to 60, I am finding that travel and lack of sleep wears on me more and more. When you're younger, you can at least you feel like you can do anything and you can go for hours and hours on end. I think about when I was in graduate school, so I'd work the wee hours of the morning. I might run home and take a shower and come right back to work. I remember at one of the congregations I worked at, I kept a pillow in a back closet. If I just got to where I couldn't go anymore, I'd lock the door and I'd lay down and I'd take a 15-minute nap, and then I'd get up and start going again. It was during graduate school that I discovered coffee. It was God, Cindy, and coffee that got me through a graduate school. But as you get older, that just wears on you, and it can shorten the longevity of our ministries. So, again, in my job, I travel a lot. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Colorado and then down in San Diego. And just a few weeks before that, I'm in Texas. I just, to try to get the word out about Heritage Christian University, I go anywhere that they'll let me talk about Jesus and they'll let me talk about Heritage Christian. But with that comes fatigue. And so what we try to do is in those trips, I try to build a little relaxation time in. I try to find out what are some local landmarks, some unique features of that particular community, and I go visit them. If they've got a little park, I try to go visit that park, even if it's just for a few hours. If they've got a beautiful lake or a beautiful river, somewhere that I can go for walks. I keep a walking stick in the back of my school car so that if I go somewhere and they've got a park or a place I can go for a hike, then I'm going to take off and go for a hike. And even if it's just 30 or 45 minutes, I find that if I just have 30 minutes to walk along the seashore as I'm traveling somewhere, it just transforms the whole trip. Or if I can stay at a hotel that allows me to get up in the morning and read my Bible in a secluded place like this or along the seashore, it just renews me. If I can and take my wife with me, so like on this trip, just coming a couple of days early and just traveling through the mountains and seeing the beauty of the state of California, it renews my soul. It reminds me that we serve a great and awesome God who creates great and beautiful things. So I do believe that as ministers of God, we should have a very strong work ethic, that we should work with all our hearts for God, that we shouldn't let anybody else outwork us. But at the same time, if we don't take some time to get away, if we don't find ways to take a break, then we're not going to be able to serve the Lord long. Or we're going to be so tired and so exhausted that we're not going to be able to serve the Lord well. So one of the things I just want to challenge us to do is in our ministry for God, take some time away, build in some breaks. We continue with our episode, having moved from Oak Knoll Forest to an inlet off of Big Bear Lake. And we're dealing with taking time to regroup and recreate in ministry. There's great value in having hobbies. For me, beekeeping and playing my guitar. I just got me a ukulele so I can have something for when I travel. Maybe it's shooting hoops or running a little bit. Think about what are some hobbies that can help you to regroup and refocus on ministry. As we think about that, I'm reminded that if we return to Mark chapter 6 and pick up in verse 33, that Jesus and the apostles had gotten away to a secluded place, but then the people saw where they were going and got there ahead of them. When Jesus saw all the crowds gathered, he had compassion for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And maybe that can be a reminder to us not only of the value of getting away and recreating and having hobbies, but there comes a time to re-engage in ministry. Because one danger is we don't take time to rest. Another danger is that we spend too much of our time doing the recreational things, and that our hobbies, instead of helping us to regroup, to refocus on ministry, they become our mission and actually pull us away from ministry. And so there's value in finding that balance between getting away and having hobbies, and remembering that the primary focus of our life is ministry in the name of Jesus, and that we're trying to get as many people to heaven as we can. I pray that our time together has been a blessing to you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ministry Matters That Matter.